Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor, a new tutorial every week. And this week we are doing Citrus Grove. Aww. We have Michael on the cameras.
Hello.
And we will be doing this project in 3 steps. So our very first step, we will be painting our citrus. Our second step, we will be painting our leaves. Our third step, we will be doing the little dots and stems. That's it. Fun project.
That's the kind of simplicity I like.
Me too. And it's so, the colors in this, and we're really doing like bleeding and wet on wet and all of this gorgeousness, so I can't wait. We are using 2 paintbrushes, our round 2 and our round 6 from our Let's Make Art Classic series. These are our go-to brushes. They're excellent. If you're going to paint a lot with us, I highly recommend these brushes. Princeton Heritage is also a really great brush. There's so many brushes. Use what you have. Okay, we are using 4 colors for this project. So our very first color is lemon yellow. Our second color is tiger orange. Our third color is rose red. And our last color is azure blue. Now these are from our Dandelion Paint Co. paints, which is our own in-house brand. These paints are actually custom mixed and made for you every month. So if you're a subscriber, you get new paints every month. Okay, we gotta do our oath.
Okay.
So, if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Thank you. Okay, now, the whole idea with this project was twofold. One, if you guys were with us last April, we did these carrots tutorials, which were so fun because we got to play with really vibrant color. We let them touch and we got really interesting color combinations, textures, all of that fun stuff. And I really wanted to recreate that feeling with this project. Also, if you guys subscribed to the Ellen Be Kind box, we did a project in that box where it was just about dots, like similar to this, but without the leaves, of just like color transitions with them touching and bleeding and stuff. And I just think sometimes you gotta have a project that's just fun, you know? So I'm really excited to do this one. It's one of my favorites. Now, excuse me. Our very first step is we will be painting our citrus. Now I have my colors here and my palette was a little wet. That's why they spread out a little bit, but that's okay. You can use colors as is because our tiger orange is a nice vibrant orange. Yellow is pretty bright. You can also mix a little bit of your rose red with a tiny bit of yellow. And then add some water to that. So I'm just gonna pull some color away, add water to it. Now I have this really pretty, like soft peach color going on, which could be kind of like a grapefruit color. So just kind of mix different yellows, oranges, reds, pinks, peaches on your palette. So we can just like go when it's time to paint and just play with it. I usually don't like to tell you guys exact measurements of 2 drops this, 1 drop this, because 1, that's not how I create. And 2, it's super important for you guys to get more comfortable with mixing on your own. And sometimes the only way to do that is just to jump right in. So don't be afraid if maybe your mixtures look different than mine. They're supposed to. And that is also why I love color mixing, because that makes everybody's unique. Okay. Is there I'm trying to think if there's like a purpley tint, but I'm going through different.
Citrus?
Yeah.
I don't
Not
think
really.
so.
Okay.
I mean, maybe, but the world is vast, but I've never seen one.
Okay. Well, that's just fun. I'm going to mix a little bit of tiger orange with my rose red, get like a more reddish orange. Okay. Ooh. Like a kumquat. Okay, ready?
Yes.
So My very first one, I'm gonna do yellow and I'm gonna have it be small. And just so you guys know, I'm calling this like citrus, but I'm not like, this is a lemon shape, this is a, you know, orange. Like, I'm not totally paying attention to the different size ratios here. So don't stress about it.
The top of your pan looks like sun rays.
Oh my gosh, yes it does. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna start with this yellow guy right here. I'm gonna go down about 2 or 3 inches, in about 2 inches. So I'm gonna start here and just using my lemon yellow. I'm gonna just do a circle, just like that, okay? And then I wanna work pretty quickly because I want these colors to bleed into each other. So right away, I'm gonna rinse my 6 and then touching, so the one coming down next to it at an angle, I'm gonna touch that just with water at first. I'm gonna have this circle be bigger. And then I'm gonna grab some orange. Drop some orange in there. It's just gonna move and it's just going to spread, and it's gonna be, and sometimes you like put color in and it just stays. Sometimes you put color in and it goes. It all depends on your paint and water ratio and things like that. But I say whatever happens, you just go with it. And whatever it wants to do, you just say, I'm not mad about it. It's doing its thing. It's doing what water and watercolor is supposed to do. Look at that.
Gorgeous.
Yes. And if it's not as spreading as much as you would like, feel free to help it. Say, come on, little guy, move around for me. I might have connected that too much. So I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. So my circle is still a circle, kind of. Okay, and then immediately I'm gonna go into the next one right here. I'm gonna have that one be like more of the pinkish color that I mixed. Okay, so I have my brush wet. I'm grabbing up this rose red and yellow mixture, and to the right, I'm gonna paint an even bigger circle and let it touch that orange.
Sarah, while you're doing the circle, and I'll forgive you if you don't remember because I have a lot of plants, but do you remember when I had a tree? It was called like a fruit salad tree or something like that. Do you remember that?
A fruit salad tree?
Yeah, you can, in the same family of plants, graft on different fruits. And so this one tree grew peach, plum, apricot.
What?
I'm wondering if there are fruit salad citrus trees or if citrus is too varied to work.
Whatever happened to our fruit salad tree?
I think it's planted in your mom's yard, maybe?
Oh yeah, probably had to leave it in California when we moved. Okay, and look, I'm just, whatever that orange wants to do on this pink mixture, I'm letting it.
That looks so cool.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
And if you want to drop in a little stronger color along the edge or something, you can. Maybe like in it, just drop it and then let it do its thing, you know, like just doing what it wants to do. Okay. And now we're gonna do one kind of down here in the middle. That one's gonna be another orange. So I have my brush wet, I'm grabbing some orange, which is now mixed with my red a lot, but that's okay. And then kind of touching this right here, make our circle. Now I want you guys to notice that I'm making my circle with the side of my brush, and I'm using a more horizontal hold, which means I'm holding it kind of more sideways because I get a thicker brush stroke that way with the rounds. If you want to make your circle using a more a more vertical hold to have it go more up and down to get a thinner line, you can, but I like just kind of using the side of my brush. And then you can always reshape your circle. Let's say you draw one and you're like, whoa, that circle is wonky. Well, fix it. Or just let it be a little bit wonky, you know, because I don't know if you guys have seen some fruits, but some of them are funky shaped. So whatever circle you make, I'm sure it exists out there in nature.
The telegram that I sent to Google has been returned, and it turns out there are citrus fruit salad trees.
Oh,
They're called
really?
Fruit cocktail trees.
Fruit cocktail trees? That's
Yeah.
cool. Our girls would love that.
Yeah. You definitely cannot grow them in Missouri.
Okay, and then I'm also going to just drop in some lemon yellow right here on the edge. Okay, and now I want to do this like really, really light peach here. See how that's just like, oh, the softest color.
It's like the ghost of a peach.
Yeah. Oh, I guess peach color, not peach fruit. I guess it could be a peach fruit.
Why not?
Why not? It's your painting. And to the right here. Now, if you guys want, you could totally like draw out, like sketch where you want your circles to be. If it stresses you out, like not having a plan. But I'm okay with mine, with making decisions as I go. But I just want you to know that you have the full power and decision-making right to do whatever works for you when you're creating. Okay. All right, and then I'm gonna actually do that other peach color up here.
If you had to guess where citrus was native to, what would you think?
I don't know.
Southeast Asia.
Oh, really?
Well, according to the internet.
Michael, you can't just throw questions on me like that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't want to look like a fool. No, that's why I have you around.
So I look like the fool?
No, because you know things. It's kind of amazing. All right. So we got that going on. This has pretty much dried by the time I painted this, so there's not a lot of bleeding going on here. That's okay. And I'm going to do another yellow one down here. I'm going to go smaller this time. And it's about this time that I want you guys to start really looking at the size and colors of your circles. If you do too much the same color and same size, there's nothing wrong with that, but I specifically and purposely chose different values, hues, and size of circles to add visual interest. And also, like, I just added this yellow one right here, and this one dried by the time like I touched it, so I don't have that cool bleeding going on. If that happens to you and you're kind of like, dang, like I really want that to happen, well, just re-wet the area, drop in that color right on the edge, and it will bleed. Now you will probably create another bloom on top of that. And blooms are these hard edges. You can see one forming right here. Can you see that?
Yep.
And what forms them is uneven water placement and drying times within a watercolor painting. Now for me, I love blooms. I think they add texture and always have this like element of surprise that I specifically love. But I know that sometimes when people first start doing watercolor, they get really frustrated with blooms because they think they're doing something wrong. And you're not doing anything wrong. That's how watercolor is supposed to be. But if you don't like blooms, then just kind of pay attention to your layering, pay attention to how much water you're putting in after you paint something, things like that, because that will add blooms.
We've talked about this in a previous tutorial. I don't remember which one. But I feel like when you approach a painting, you either want to embrace the medium that you're using or embrace the subject more. So like if you're trying to go for a more realistic, citrus fruit, you would shy away from the blooms. But if you're really embracing watercolor, is this making sense?
It is making sense, yeah. I totally understand what you're saying. And for me, I think the reason why my style specifically is a little bit more about, well, I guess it depends on the painting, but even with when I'm trying to do something a little bit more realistic or have form, I still celebrate those blooms that come in every once and again, because if you can still tell what the subject is, and if the blooms don't actually detract from the viewer being able to tell what's going on, then like, why is it a problem, and celebrate it. Another thing that I would like to add is if you guys are following this step by step, you'll see that I kind of did leaves a little bit first before I finished all of the citrus. And you can do that too. It's completely up to you. From a teaching perspective, it makes more sense to do all of them in one step and then the leaves on top. But I just wanted to say that if you do a darker citrus and you want to do like leaves on top of it, it's really going to be hard to see. It's going to be hard to tell that that's green because watercolor is transparent. So like, for example, this little guy right here is like a super dark orange. And you can even add a tiny bit of blue in there if you want it to be like really dark. But if I want a leaf kind of coming out of it, like on top of the orange, it's not pictured here, but if I wanted it there, I would not paint the orange totally. I would leave a little like section, so then a leaf can go right there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And that one, I just feel like it needs a little bit of variation, so I'm going to drop some yellow in there and just kind of let it do its thing.
When you are approaching laying something out like this, are you aware of composition, or are you kind of just going by feel, like, okay, I need another one over here? Or like, do you lay out a composition in your head first, like, I need to follow this line?
I personally don't lay out the composition beforehand, even though it's common for artists to do so. But I am paying attention to the alignment of things and the composition as I go. For example, you'll notice that I started not directly in the middle, because whenever you're doing things like this that are a bunch of things together and you start directly in the middle, it's really hard to actually make that thing feel even and centered in the paper. So I always start off center, and then after that I kind of pay attention to my horizontal and vertical lines. For example, you'll notice that if I were to make a grid going horizontally, none of these oranges line up exactly across from each other, okay? The center is always a little bit off. You see that? Uh-huh. And that's because when you lay things out next to each other, it is going to visually create an implied line to your viewer. So even though you didn't draw a direct line, our brain loves to jump to patterns and conclusions. So our brain is going to pick that up, even if that was not our intention. And I pay attention to that horizontally as well as vertically. So when I'm adding my citrus, I want to make sure that I'm not doing things right on top or next to each other, because then that's going to start creating lines and implied lines in my composition. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
That's a hot tip.
That was a great question. All right. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm going to drop some more orange in there though, because that just... And it's so funny, sometimes when I go to add a color, a brush stroke will go a little haywire and I now have to reshape my citrus. If that happens to you, it's totally normal. Just kind of go with the flow. Okay, that's it for step one. Good job, you guys. Now we're moving on to step two. We're going to paint our leaves. Now for our leaves, I am mixing our orange and our yellows and our blues to get different greens. So let's mix them already on our palette. So you can see my colors are actually kind of mixing together already. So I'm just going to start pulling some of those out. So for me, the colors that I'm looking for is I'm looking for like a neutral green, a warm green, and warm greens have yellow undertones. I'm also looking for cool greens. Those are going to have blue undertones. And then I'm even going a little bit crazy with this color and doing some turquoise leaves in there because I love turquoise and oranges together. I think they're complementary colors, so they just like make each other pop. I love it. So get a few of those different greens going on by mixing, and really just play with it. Just be like, I wonder what happens if I mix yellow and blue and maybe a little bit of this orange together. Like, look how gorgeous that turquoise color is. Are you kidding? Hello? Can they see that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I got that great blue going on. Let's get like a good green. And you can see I'm just mixing right on top of like the different yellows and oranges that I had because I'm done with those colors and I can actually utilize those colors that are out here to mix more colors.
You ever been having just like a very poor mixing day and wasted your whole space and had to just like rinse your palette out and start over?
Yes.
Does that happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, especially if I get like, well, Michael probably knows this more than anybody, but I do not love to rinse my palette. That's why watercolor works for me because the cleanup is way easier than acrylic and oil. And so like my acrylic palette was just layered. It was just like this thick of like paint. And let's not get into that. But the reason why I like this Butcher Tray palette is because it gives me freedom to mix. But the other thing about it though that sometimes you can find frustrating is that it's not cleared off sections. And I like that because it makes me feel like I have room, but it also makes it really easy for colors to accidentally touch with each other and then your mixtures just bleed into each other and you lose it all and you're like, dang it, now I gotta rinse my palette and start over. So the answer is yes. So, if you guys could only see, in my studio upstairs, I have a drawer that's just called palettes. And if you open up, I bet you there's about 9 palettes in there that are all dirty because I just grab a new one instead of cleaning it.
Wow.
It's a problem.
That used to be our kitchen plates. That's why we have no plates.
Yes, actually, I think I have 2 kitchen plates upstairs from our house.
Mm-hmm. And the spoons.
Let's not get into that. Okay, so I have some good greens. I have a neutral green here. I have a blue. Let's actually do a warm green. I'm actually going to turn my yellow mixture just into like a yellow green. You see that? And let's do a dark green. Now the wonderful thing about the colors that we have here is that red and green are complementary colors. So if you want to do like a desaturated green or a more earthy tone green, you can just take a little bit of that red and mix that in there, and now you have this beautiful, like gorgeous brown green. And all of these greens are invited to this party. Okay, so I'm gonna start with just a neutral green. And you can either do your leaves 2 ways. You can draw your leaf and then fill it in. Or if you wanna just like try and do it in one stroke, I'm just gonna start light pressure, push down, light pressure again. Now whenever you do like a 1-stroke leaf, you're gonna get some like kind of funky shaped leaves. I like that though, but do whatever works for you. And then for me, I love just like dropping in other colors there. So after I paint it, sometimes I'll just drop in darker green, maybe some blue. And then on these ones, you can see that I outline it, but I do a thicker line and just kind of leave the center white, kind of like the vein in a leaf. Okay? Now the other thing that I want to tell you guys as you're doing your leaves is pay attention to your water content, pay attention to your values. I love like messing with different values here. And if you want lighter values with your greens, all you got to do is add water to it. So there's a green. Ooh, look at that green against that peach. That's pretty. And let's drop in some strong here. Now, you might be asking, Sarah, how many leaves do I add? How do I know when it's enough? Just play.
17.
Now, you can even, like, let's say you accidentally put your wrist in something and you got like other marks on your paper. Maybe you can utilize your placement of leaves to cover up some accidental mark making. You know, like I do stuff like that all of the time. Oh gosh, look at that blue. Hello, thank you for being here. And you can tell I'm not putting in my stems yet. So I'm kind of like going off an invisible stem that's coming out. If it is easier for you to put your stems in first and then do your leaves off of that, you are free to do that. Okay. Just kind of mixing different ones here. The other thing you'll notice is I'm doing different leaf sizes. So I have some small ones, I have some skinny ones, I have some thick ones. Play around with it. So I'm going to do this guy coming out here. Now the reason why I'm teaching to do your citrus all the way first and then your leaves is in the step-by-steps that you guys have. I didn't totally do that, and you can see on this step my green bled with the orange and the red right here of that leaf because it was all still really wet, which isn't in and of itself bad. I was just trying to think, like, I don't want you guys to feel frustrated, and because these are complementary colors, if you mix too much of them all together, they turn brown, and I really wanted to keep these kind of vibrant, so I split it up that way. But if you guys are feeling edgy, and you're like, I'm okay with some of my green bleeding, let's just see what happens, do it. I also sometimes like to do just water drops in there. That does create blooms because it's uneven water disbursement that I just dropped in there. But I'm a texture gal, so I'm okay with that. I'm switching to my round 2 to do a smaller leaf. Now this is going to go over my orange, so it's not going to be as of a vibrant green as the one that's over the white paper. And for my leaf shapes, I always try and have like a thicker middle and narrow beginnings and ends because that's a shape I really like. But there are so many different, and this isn't like totally correct of the leaves that come on these citrus. I didn't like look at the leaves on this tree. So you guys can make it whatever you want. Okay, and I'm gonna have, and this is where, depending on what your blooms turned out, there might be some areas that you actually don't want to cover with the orange because they're so pretty. Like on my reference photo, I have a leaf going here that was partly because this leaf bled. But here, I really actually love this area right there. And I don't think I want to cover it. So I'm gonna just make a slight adjustment and have my leaf go this way. Yeah. Okay. Just gonna keep on keeping on. And this is also like, let's say, looking at my composition. I don't know if you guys noticed, but here I have 5 leaves, and over here I only have 2. And that's because there's a much bigger white space and gap here than over here, because all of these things are touching. And so you can use your leaves as a way to fill up the composition if there are spaces that feel very empty, and utilize the amount of leaves, the value of the leaves, and like the coloring and stuff to make it feel a little bit more even instead of heavily weighted. So if let's say I only did one little leaf here, okay, and then I did a bunch of leaves over here, when I was done, this area would look very, very bare, and it would feel heavy on the right-hand side, which would throw our viewer's eye. So take a step back from your painting, look at the composition, see where you can utilize leaf placement as a tool to help your composition feel even.
I remember when I was a child and things like Blockbuster Video were still around. My family would go rent a movie, and in the summer there was this lady who had one of those big Great Pyrenees dogs, and she sold oranges, and they were the most delicious oranges. I don't know where she got them from.
Really?
Yeah.
Our first 2 Christmases of at Let's Make Art, there was a llama who was from Florida, I believe, and she would send us just this box of oranges and grapefruit and citrus that was so delicious. Oh, I loved it.
It's so funny how like sometimes produce just is so much more flavorful than other produce.
Mm-hmm.
Those oranges that the llama box that we got, I remember those too. Those were so good.
I know. People at work would get mad at me because I would like
take them all.
Take them. I'd be
like 3 of us back then.
Yeah, there was only like 3 employees.
So was Al mad at
I
you
would
for
leave like
stealing?
1 orange and 1 grapefruit and be like, all right, bye. Just kidding, I would share. But they would have to ask me. Just kidding.
File the required paperwork.
Yeah. I'd be like, are you actually going to appreciate this orange? Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Let's do a little guy. Kind of coming up here. Okay. Now,
your perception of your own painting goes. Sorry for interrupting.
no, it's okay.
Your perception of your own painting goes a long way too, because I feel like if you, Sarah Cray, came out hot. I dropped my ring. If you came out hot and you said like, I just don't really like this painting. It's okay. Then I feel like as a viewer, you feel that way about it too. But like, if you like your own art, and when you present it to people, in general, they'll like it too. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. And I agree with you.
What I'm saying is if you have terrible paintings, just pretend they're great and everyone will like them. Okay, you go. I'm sorry for cutting you off. It was really important, whatever it was. It was game-changing.
I don't remember what I was going to say, so it obviously wasn't that important.
Was it about leaves?
No, it'll come to me. I'm not too worried about it. We still got time together. Okay, now you can see where I'm starting to put that leaf that I left space for of my tiny little orange fruit over here. So I'm just kind of painting that in. Doesn't that look nice? Okay. Ooh, and I introduced like this really deep blue on the bottom here because I think against that orange it's just, oh, so nice. But again, this is your guys' painting, so if you're like, I actually don't really like that color combination, first of all, you have every right to say that. And you have every right not to listen to me. So if you want to do something totally different, do it. Yes. Okay. Now, one other thing that you guys can do, we put in our leaves, and this is looking really good. I'm loving this. Another thing that if you need a little bit more help composition-wise, is you can put leaves coming out. Like you can see here, I have this leaf coming out of my orange because when I made this, that felt really bare. So, like let's say right here, see how there's this pretty big white space where on my reference photo it's not as big. So I feel like I kind of need to fill that in, but like I already have like a ton of leaves coming out of here, so it's just like problem solving, like, okay, what do I do? Well, you can take a light value green and just kind of have it come in out maybe of this like pink one, like behind it. And so it fills up that space, but it's also like a lighter value, so it's not like taking up too much attention. And you can use that, I'm gonna use it over here actually kind of on my reference photo one more time. That, and let's put one over here. Yeah, that feels good.
It implies that there's more layers of fruit underneath it.
Exactly. Look at you.
Abundance.
Okay. That is step 2. Good job. Now we're going to move on to step 3. We are going to be putting in our stems and doing little texture dots on our citrus. So I'm going to do my stems first. I have my round 2. And using whatever colors I want, I'm going to do thin lines that connect all of my leaves to a stem. So to do thin lines, you're going to hold your brush vertically. You're going to do light pressure. So it's like a barely there touch. And you're just going to connect. And you could even have the leaves connect right onto the stem, or do tiny leaves, tiny stems off of the main stem to connect them together. You can do both, whatever works. This one have come up this way. And let's do a little guy here. Okay. This one is probably the only one that really suffered from doing the green on top of that, you know? But
it doesn't even look that.
It doesn't, it's just not as vibrant of a green, but you can still absolutely tell that it's green. You can still tell that it's a leaf, but that's just a good example of how sometimes if you're trying to layer on top of a dark value, it's difficult to do.
I think all the time when you say that, like, your brain likes to fill things in, you know, because I'm looking at that and I just think like, oh, green. Like, I didn't even think about it twice.
Yeah. And that's where, I know that sometimes when we're painting or drawing, we can get frustrated at our brain for making assumptions, because it actually makes it really difficult to draw or paint what we see instead of what our brain tells us we see. But it worked in our favor in this case, because when other people look at your painting, their brain is working, making patterns, making assumptions, doing all that, which makes it super easy, because then you're like, yeah, it's leaves and citrus. And people are like, oh yeah, cool. And that's like it. Their brain is done working, right? Because it's super efficient. So great. It works in our favor sometimes, you know?
Most people's brains are super efficient. Yeah, not so much.
Okay, so I got my stems. Now I'm going to do little dots. You guys don't have to do this. I just thought it brought like a fun little illustration texture element to this painting. So depending on the citrus that I'm going to be doing the dots on, I'll just grab a little bit of that color. Maybe have it a darker value so it will show up. If I try and do a lighter value dot on here, you're not going to see it.
A knot dot?
It would be a knot dot, that's right. And just kind of going off little, gosh, isn't it cute? I love illustration though. I mean, I can look at kids' books all day because the illustration is just so fascinating to me. I love it.
I wish you guys could see how many children's books we have in our house. Our house is like half kids' books and half Sarah clothes.
I buy them for me, but I read them to my kids. They just don't get as excited because I'll be like, look at this texture, and they're like, that's great. Can you read this story?
Mom, you've been reading for 3 hours. I'm tired.
I'm no more reading. And I'm doing kind of different size dots here. We got smaller ones, we got bigger ones.
Those are cute.
Aren't they cute? Don't they just add a little extra pop to it?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. And I'm not doing it on all of them. You guys can. Maybe you're not a dot fan and you want to do something else. You can. I'm a huge dot fan. I love just putting little dots places. I feel like it gives it like a magic feel. I don't know what shape you can do. What if somebody just did squares?
I think like little cross hatching would be kind of cute in some spots.
Oh, cross hatching would be super cute. And if you guys don't know what cross hatching is, it's when you do lines this way and then angled lines the opposite way, like that.
It'd be kind of cute in some, you know, corner areas.
Oh yeah, super cute.
Corner, it's all circles. There's no corners.
Okay.
I think Dot's a cute pet name now that I'm thinking about it. Like, if you had a little cat or something, Dot. Or a ladybug.
Our daughters have a stuffed animal named Dot.
Do they?
Yeah.
They got good taste.
I know. They get it from me. Just kidding. Okay, we're done. Gosh, I love this project so much. I hope you guys have fun with this. I mean, this one I really wanted you to play with wet on wet and color and layering and texture and really letting the paint and the water do what it's supposed to do and not get mad at it for doing its job and really embracing any kind of texture. I mean, this is when I went back and did the orange on top to let it bleed. And look at that, like beautiful. You just get such beautiful, surprising work when you just let things be sometimes. Okay.
These are words of wisdom. Let it be.
Let it be, that's right. Trademark phrase. No, I'm just kidding. All right. If you are on Facebook, I would love to see what you guys come up with. We have a Facebook group that's for the sole purpose of you guys sharing your work. I think it's so valuable being able to see what other people are creating and see that even though we're all working on the same project, there's going to be different compositions, different colors. People are going to do adjustments or, you know, kind of take this idea and fly and run with it. And there's always something that you can learn seeing how other people approach a painting or a project. So that's called Let's Make Art Watercolor. We're also on Instagram. You can tag us at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. And if you need any of these supplies or this kit, you can get them at letsmakeart.com. We good?
Premium.
Thank you guys so much for painting with me. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Just so you know, when we introduce a project, we usually go,
You usually go,
You're a ooh, ah.
I do what I feel like.
All right, yeah.
Hi.
Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor, a new tutorial every week, and this week we are doing Citrus Grove. You just scared the crap.
I thought your face was awesome. So is that one or normal one or what?